You all are good.
Okay, we're live. We are live. Ooh. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is one of the first events on PrideTT calendar. And today we are launching the Sasha Fierce Fund. And today with me, I have some very, very special people. On my right, I have Ms. Brandy Rodriguez, who is the head of the Trinidad Trans-Coalition. And on my left, I have Wade. Just Wade. Yeah. Wade is here from the CVCC, which is the Caribbean Vulnerable Communities Coalition. So we want to welcome you all. We want to say thank you very much for joining in. Today will be unique because we want your participation. We have a very special segment within this, in which it's not just for us to sit down here and talk to you. This is really an online community, because of the COVID-19 regulations. We're not having this in person, but ideally this would have been an in-person event, and we would all be sitting here kicking. But the joy of it is that you'll get to sit at home and you can participate. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't really want to be seen. That's no problem, but do feel free to participate when we open up the floor. You can just turn on your microphone and we'll moderate the conversation like that. Yeah? So I want to welcome first up Brandy from the Trans-Coalition to just give us a bit more information about the Trans-Coalition and yeah, are we here?
Okay. Well, I'm Brandy Rodriguez. We have been working with the trans community for the last 22 years, but only registered in 2017 officially. And 2018, we partnered with PrideTT. I've been working with family planning since 2006 for sexual and reproductive health and also rights for trans women. So generally, my whole today, what I want to talk about is about the initiative that we're taking towards empowering trans women to build their skill and to make them feel or be more empowered and build their capacity so that they could become the woman that they want to be and to feel less stigma and discriminated and to move away from isolation and depression. These are some of the personal challenges that trans women have. And today we want to talk a little bit about Sasha. Sasha for me was one of the persons that I could have always called on whenever we have a meeting anywhere.
Yeah. She
was always ready. Yes, Brandy. Yes, I thought at one time I show, and I could have put my hand on a block. She was with me. I could have invited her, and she just wants to know, am I supposed to be in character or I become as of how I feel, or because along the spectrum we have non-gender conforming and the non-binary people and trans people. So could you just say, well, I'm trans, just so it's, we have to understand the spectrum. And we're persons that can be trying to meet that thing. So Sasha was one of the persons that I could have always asked to participate at a meeting. We want to do a condom and move drive. We're reaching out to persons, the sexual workers at night.
And I want to just interject here and to clarify, because in different spaces since Sasha's passing, I've heard different people's take on Sasha's life. So would you say that Sasha identified as a trans woman, or Sasha was existing along the spectrum?
She was existing along the spectrum, but she identified as in some spaces to be trans.
Right.
But I think persons have to understand, and we have to educate the general population about the different, groups
identities
and different identities, and to talk about sex and gender. I think there's supposed to be a lot more sensitization and education around that, because we need to build people awareness, because it's not that, everybody's not drag queen.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that, because in conversations, I've heard some people just refer to Sasha as a drag queen, and I knew to myself, that is not the case. A drag queen, is not an identity really and officially. There are people who perform in drag. But their identity, as who they live their lives,
they want to identify. Yes. So generally, this is what the coalition do. We try to educate and empower, and to also have persons feel, that they have somewhere to turn, because there's, a lot of disconnections with families, there's society, then employment, housing, all of these different challenges. But I have been working with the migrants community for a really long time. Also doing work with PIHIV, sex workers, and LGBTI. So I have my community to reach, and so far we have been trying to build, each capacity in different areas, and I think more so not get buy-in from different, institutions and stakeholders and government, to see how we can move forward.
And so how, when Sasha's, murder happened, how did that affect the Trans-Coalition, and what parts, also, looking in the future, what part would you all have to play, or because you were Sasha's community?
Yes, but what happened, I had not only was a bad experience for me losing a personally, losing a friend, losing someone that I got, one of the, basically the only person that would say, okay, for sure, that kind of way. She and her friend Jasmine was one of these, still Jasmine is one of the people, if I text Jasmine, just tell me when they Jasmine keep that kind of, way. And that was one of Sasha's friends. And one of these delegates in the last show she attended, and they had a good bond. When I met Sasha's family during the time of her death, I was, the family actually reached out and was explaining to me about how they did not want to identify with Sasha being trans, and they were very clear, not Sasha. So this is where I had to educate persons along the spectrum of being non-binary, non-gender conforming, and trans. And only when she died, I understood how important it was for us to do this, because the family did say personally that, we would prefer that you didn't attend the funeral, because they know me, they knew the work that I was doing and all of that. And I said, okay, because that's their right and that's their vision. And I had to respect that. But this is why we're here today, to continue the legacy and share these memories. And everyone will have the time to actually do this, to share.
Right. So before we get more into the sharing, because I realize we went into the sharing, but that's how it goes sometimes. Right? So let's start with Wade. Wade, you work with the Caribbean Coalition, Caribbean Vulnerable Communities Coalition. So tell us a bit.
So this is a new experience for me. I see liaison officer, and I work for the CBCC, right? So the CBCC, and I support Bradley with her work. But the other thing about the CBCC, not to bore the audience, but the CBCC is a regional body that it's to support exactly that, vulnerable communities. Those people who live in our region who, for want of a better word, fall by the wayside.
Right.
Right, and we focus on assisting children who are marginalized communities, who are people living with HIV, trans women, trans men. So we sort of look at those people who fall to the bottom of the priority access bracket. problems when it comes to society. The problem that we have in the Caribbean, because of stigma and because of traditional societies, people still look at us or try to invisibilize us brandy of things.
My hair is a mess.
One of the things that is really important is supporting trans women. To get into that discussion, that about one of the reasons why you find that people who are trans, like want to identify as being trans or want to identify as trans, but they're limited by that sort of the choices that they have. To say, for example, I'm a drag queen, because then you can say I'm a lesbian. So it sort of hides you back into society, normalizes you back into a heteronormal society. So then people can say, oh, well, yeah, that's just for entertainment. So you still cannot live your truth. You know, that's what has become one of the challenges when it comes to accessing. Because then, just like what you're saying, people tell you this person is a drag performer, so he or she can access it in the country. But the truth is because we continue to have to be in the shadows, people who do not align themselves with heteronormative way of behaving and thinking have to still not be able to access things. So let's say, for example,
my hair is in a total mess.
Self-identifying and coming out and living my truth. If she goes into a health center to access medical care, then she can be denied.
I am here really well.
Tap into those around the world, right? Who want to give money to help develop and build sustainability.
Oh no.
This sort of growth of mechanisms that can support women who are falling out of social care system.
So is it specifically for women?
No, actually it supports people for anyone to the negotiation. It is marginal.
Okay.
All marginalized.
Yeah, all marginalized groups. And it's interesting that children are also covered there because you would want to assume that children are naturally covered by the Caribbean. But that isn't necessarily so. Orphans get put into the system. But those are the ones who are captured by welfare system. There are so many children who are still orphans who are not captured into that system. And then you have those children who live on the margin. So you're 17 years old tomorrow, you're 18, and then the system no longer cares for you.
Probably having to integrate.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
We always have. Because even working with the PLHIV community, have been, trying to. I'm presently working with the persons from the civil rights, how they integrate themselves from there and into society, because there have been a lot of challenges. And we lost somebody with PrideTT, I think it was last year. And then another one during the COVID actually stopped taking MS for a year. And it's like, Randy, I always take this thing, and I don't want to take this anymore. I feel. And you have to always encourage them because they live there, they live actually taking this all the time. When they in the home, it was where it was mandatory, but no supervision now, and you reach 18, 19, 20, 21. I still taking this one, and with all that support.
And community around.
Yeah, and so I reached out to actually 2 persons right now. But it's a really rough time. One was in prison after he came out, he gets infected with crime and all these different things. And this is something because the mechanisms is not in place to support. So there has been a hard job at times because to get the different stories and to understand where they are, but somebody has to really understand and somebody has to do it.
Right. So one of the ways that this supports not just Trinidad and Tobago but other Caribbean countries is that we provide seed funding. So we will give you a small amount of money as much as our sponsors of this too. And that money goes to do a number of things. One of the projects that I will work on as a community liaison officer is to help bring together a database of those trans-friendly services in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
So if you are living as a trans person in Trinidad and Tobago, or non-binary, or even someone who's living with HIV, there is this fear that you have of being discriminated against, even fear violence or fear being turned away when you go to access services. So we're sort of mapping these services now. We want to do something that we should talk to people who access these services.
Right.
Find those safe spaces for those of us who are not living heteronormal lives, where we can access food, we can access medical care, we know that we can get treatment, we know who to go to if we have an emergency. And for those trans people who want to live their true selves, and looking at surgery or looking at medical treatment, so to correct the trans, so we can begin transitioning to the person that they see themselves as. We want to start mapping that so that in the very near future, it becomes easier for this community to exist today. To say when I need something, I know where to go to, I can be confident in myself. Right. If I see myself as a woman, I don't have to boy down just to go to get something that my fundamental human rights says that I'm entitled to. I can go I believe that.
Yeah. And be entitled like everybody else.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. So I think now would be a good time to open up the floor. You know, Brandy, I know you began chatting at first in terms of who Sasha was to you. I don't know if you want to share anything else, but we do want to open the floor also to anybody that's logged in with us that may have been a friend of Sasha or may have known Sasha, and you know, this would be the perfect time for you to say, you know, one or two words. So the floor is open. Yeah.
I think I said I have a little more to share, but probably later on.
Right.
Let's hear what other views are.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody there who wants to talk about how they knew Sasha and what they want to say about Sasha?
Hi all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is really
hi Margaret.
Margarita Elliott.
Margarita, my apologies. Margarita, hi.
But I must say this is a very interesting discussion. One that I think needs needs greater frequency, because I'm not sure even among the trans community they understand how many the amount of young people in our society at this point in time are challenged with their own identity and dealing with their bodies and dealing with their sexualities.
Yeah.
I think from where we are at this point in time, we still have labels, and we could say, okay, you exist here and you're on this moving spectrum. But for a lot of these young people, they are just existing based and responding to what they feel, and they really don't give a shit about labels. But I think in ensuring that as a community that is responsible for advocating and for taking care of your community, or taking care of persons who are most vulnerable among us, it is important that we make the effort to reach out to young people, because I'm not sure youths are factored into the dynamics of what is happening.
Right, yeah. And included in conversation, yeah.
Right. So even a panel like this would be good if you could get young people, because I have a 12-year-old daughter, and funny enough, she was asking me last week. She said, "Mommy, you ever have questions about your sexuality at 12?
Wow, yes.
So I'm saying that it is, we may look at it and say, oh, it's something, but it's actually quite common for them, and it's quite normalized to talk and to acknowledge if someone is bi, or if somebody feels funny, or if somebody wants to do something. The whole issue about suicide, and that's something that affects trans experience is an important thing that
very much so, yeah.
talk about. But I don't want to go off on a tangent. I really would like to also remember Sasha. Those of you who know, when Sasha was murdered, I was managing the project she was working on as linkages.
Okay.
And I know with different aspects of the community, that project at the time, we had more or less negative perception of the project, because I guess at the time the community did not want to do some of the things. The way the project was designed, I'm not sure the community felt comfortable with some of the methodologies.
Right.
When Sasha came on to the team, her headspace was to really, she was in the belly of the beast, I would say. She was on the streets. When she died, I found out, I would find out from her from time to time what her real situation was. I mean, given the salary and everything, but she was actually using her salary to support like 5 or 6 or 7 other persons. And, sometimes they had, and I can remember one person saying, sometimes we had nothing to eat. So it real dread. It's not like, I mean, some people would say, okay, the class situation exists. The class situation also exists in the trans community. For me, with Sasha, I know Sasha had this deep hope and this dream of being or becoming. She had goals for herself and really wanted to actualize those goals, and she was thinking that, she really wanted to go back to school. So she had the same dreams as any other woman,
Right, yeah. Right.
And I remember the transition in engaging with the family when she died. They initially said, okay, we have no problems. We'll accept whatever it is, no problem. So we said, okay, we will be taking care of the funeral. You all will not have to worry about anything, on the premise that her friends should be able to, come and the experience. So I think we leaned on Brandy and Dave for guidance on this. But I don't know what happened within the space of like 2 or 3 days. I got word from, I think it was Kerwin and Dave, or Luke and Dave, that the family was having some issues. Now, as advocates, sometimes you could say, all right, if you all want to bury a male, no problem. You could say, well, all right, we're going to pull back. But then where does that leave her memory? So we were really battling with a lot of things to treat with. And I remember going on the podium at the funeral and looking at the pews in the church. On one side was Sasha's friends, and on the other side sat her family. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I say to these people? So I firstly said to the family, I just want to thank you all for giving birth to the most marvelous human being who, despite everything that people might be saying about her, was able to extend herself to take care of the inadequacies in another human being. She was able to feed, she was able to provide solace, guidance, support, motivation to people who needed it. And I told the family, I just want to thank you for loaning her to us. Or loaning, well, at that point, they couldn't say her, you had to say him, because they would have shoot us out of that church. So I had to be reminded of, in my head at the time, of the pronoun to use. It wasn't easy. And I think in all of this, my whole experience with Sasha, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And regardless of what you decide, what I choose to be, that's my choice. But that should not negate your right to live the life you want, regardless of the society.
Right, yeah.
And I think we are at a place now where I think those barriers, some of it are somewhat changing. It's not as, relatively, it's not as bad as it used to be. At this point in time, I think our authorities, they might still be a little bit lax with trans or men who have sex with men. We still have they still do not recognize the rights of sex workers because.
Right, yeah, very true. And so Roberta, we want to thank you very, very much for sharing. We have a couple other people that want to share, but you know, there was something that you touched on with regards to Sasha's goals and dreams, you know, about getting education that we just want to highlight, but we'll come back to that a little later. Yeah, so so thank you so much, and let's see who else do we have next.
So Micah.
We have Micah.
Micah says, I met Sasha twice, but a question. What measures are being put in place to help avoid this horrendous event occurring again?
I wish that we had someone from the Ministry of National Security here. I wish that we had the opportunity to engage the other government ministries who talk about the access to social services. Because this has to be a joint effort. It just can't be that you lean on the security issue only. We have to lean on social services. Every one of us in society has a responsibility for each other. And there are those of us in society who are paid and who have the responsibility to be what's known as a duty bearer. That means that you're supposed to care for the entire society.
Right.
And the only way that we can address preventing any sort of crime happening to anyone because they want to live their true self is if we start that change at the level of the authorities. They have to be the ones championing that sort of communication that we all deserve to exist in our spaces and we deserve to navigate spaces where everyone else is, and that we're not supposed to move around as though we're in a maze or live in this sort of puzzle where we exist when you are not there and you exist when we are not there. Right. We have to all be there together. And the powers that be have that responsibility. But what we also have as a responsibility is to remind the powers that be that you have that duty to all of us. And that works best when we encourage our allies to speak up. Those who can exist in these spaces. We have heterosexual allies, we have cis male allies, we have cis female allies, and we have to start calling on them to come out in your own way and lend your voice. You don't have to go and protest in front of a ministry or stand up and shout at an MP, but you can ask those sort of questions in fora that exist now. You can ask questions on social media. You can encourage other people. There are other NGOs who do activism in Trinidad and Tobago, but they still do not mention trans women. And they'll talk about human rights and they will broadcast equality. But when you ask them to talk about these issues, then they will sort of sideline it, or it becomes a 2-minute message in a 1-hour dialogue. So what we really need is that sort of allies can encourage them. Go to one of these meetings that those who want to protect human rights are having and ask them, what about the trans issue? How come people who identify differently from heteronormal growth are not being visible? What about protecting the security of people who walk on the street? Why is it that not enough is being done for us to help those who want to commit a crime against someone who is different, help them understand that what they're doing is not acceptable?
Right. Yeah. All right. We have somebody else that wants to share.
Micah again, though, but still very important question. Are there any centers or trans-friendly medical professionals that help provide the hormones and medical help and help transitioning individuals mentally? Any information on that?
I could share on that. The hormone replacement therapy, actually, we got some supplies. Well, it's pretty costly because it's like about $320 US a month for the female to male, and it's like about $380 from male to female. We have the FPAT is the only institution that is volunteering the space, the clinic space. We had a doctor that was no longer with FPAT. The doctor, when our doctors went abroad to finish study last year, we have a doctor for the last 2 years, and we're hoping to get a replacement. With all this happening, we were supposed to get a replacement in February. But the shutdown and the lockdown of the country, I don't think that happened because we're getting another doctor to replace, who was more experienced in that coming from London to actually work with the trans community and to volunteer that time at clinic, probably about 4 hours. The fact so generally we had that in place, but so far so good. We're hoping now as the country is open, probably by September, we can write again to see where we stand in terms of the commitment with that business. Coming here, we don't know, and coming back on board. So far so good.
Shahan would like to know Sasha's goals and projects. Are they being continued and or being achieved?
Right. Okay, well, I think that's a great question, and it's actually a great segue into the next little tidbit here, which is about PrideTT. And PrideTT's launch of this fund, which is also one of the main reasons why we're having today, the launch of the Sasha Fierce Memorial Fund for the purposes of skill building, education, and development. So we have Rudy with us in studio. He is president of PrideTT. Rudy is doing the producing behind the camera, and he's moderating the online happening. So we're going to ask Wade to just speak a little bit about the actual fund, you know, to indirect answer that question. So Shahan, thank you for your question.
Well, Shahan, yes, we were very happy to receive the news from Rudy when he informed Bradley that PrideTT was going to invest in developing the skills of the trans community, which was one of Sasha's dreams. Because as you were just hearing, one of Sasha's ambition was to go back and be a skilled woman. And because there are challenges for even trans people or non-binary children, even in school, to be themselves and access education, many of them are shy or they're afraid of going back to school. Some of them feel that they may not even be able to access the right sort of skills for development. So this fund, it's not much, but it's a start. And I think the purpose of this fund is really can give some further information later on PrideTT's website, is to be a kickstart for that, to help those, to have this particular community, to have the trans community, to go back to learning. And it's not just academic, it's whatever you want to do. If you feel that you are best, the best skill that you have is to be a fashion designer or to be an improviser of technologies, which means that you take something that's going to make it even better, then the fund is here to help with that. And I think this fund is one of those very worthwhile things that the community should give directly to the fund. It's not that people are going to tap into it and there's just administrative costs that you're going to lose. So if you put $1 into the fund, the entire 100% from that number is going to go straight towards the beneficiaries. So by PrideTT giving into the fund, it's really to kickstart the fund in 2020.
Right.
And it's up to all of us now as a community, allies and supporters, to encourage and even encourage those allies, industry, businesses, start giving to the fund. However small, if we put together 2 pennies, one for Laja any day, if everyone keeps putting a penny every day, if we wait for that big donation, then especially young trans people are going to be missing out on opportunities to build themselves and become someone, and even the adult trans women who are here might not be able to access education. Some of them are migrants,
Yeah.
They're willing to actually develop on their skills, and this fund might be a way for one migrant trans woman or trans man to say, you know what, I want to develop my skill and become useful to this country and help them.
Right.
So yes.
Yeah. And encourage those around you, those in your circles, those in your communities, those in your spheres of influence, to also give those who, come from financial privilege or can access financial privilege, It's important that each of us in our own pockets, in our own communities, do what we can so that the whole, the greater whole can come home from those, Do we have anybody else that wanted to share? Yeah?
Kennedy would like to know if there is any advice that can be given to parents who have a transgender child.
Well, love your child.
Yeah.
Love your child. When you have a child, you're happy that God gave you a gift. And God didn't take the gift away from the child because the child is not who you expect them to be. When you have a child, that is an individual, it's a human being. It's not a plaything, and the child is not a wish list of what you want. You have to let your children be themselves. Love them for whoever they want to be and however they want to express themselves.
Yeah. I totally agree with that because I am a mother that I don't think nobody can tell she anything that she don't know. Because she could go online, see and find and watch news. And it's like, still, like, that doesn't, the problem doesn't exist. And the support that I get, I think, honestly, sometimes when I give too much. Give too much. But really, actually, I stay away and then she, right? Why are you not coming by that? I don't invite you.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that's really the best thing to do for any parent to really love the child and to respect that the choices of that child, that it must be something like that, and it's unconditional.
I also think from the perspective of the parents, and this is something that sometimes we as the children that are the difference, sometimes it's hard for us to reconcile with our parents, inability to reconcile with us. But sometimes the things with parents is, parents have dreams for their children. When parents have children, they create in their minds the life that this child will have, and also the life that they are working to provide for this child. And sometimes when your child has declared that they are someone other than you have allowed yourself to see them as, there's a process of death that happens, for that parent. A transition, a child transitioning could very much be like a death, the death of their son. And now there's a daughter that's there that they have to form some new connection with to really assimilate this new child as their own. So I think that there has to be that balance also. I would say to parents, give yourselves time and give yourselves grace, because it's not, we were having that conversation about what name we are transitioning and also what name your parents refer to you as, and yes, there are films and television shows and movies where, right now trans people are able to be adamant and very demanding and, stick their heels in the ground and demand that you refer to them as, their new names and whatnot. And I think that is very important, and there's very much space for that. But I also think that the reality of especially our context as Caribbean people, Caribbean parents, Caribbean relationships. I was telling a friend the other day, I said, it has to be a dance.
Yeah.
It has to be a dance. You can't dig your heels in the floor, especially when it comes to, your intimate family. Sometimes families have names for each other that really, the names have nothing to do with your original name or whatever. And you will go on to become whoever you want to be in the public domain, but your family will always call you that name. Yeah. I have a friend, the child surname is Mowgli. Why would you call the child Mowgli? But that's their family name. And so, I think that also we as trans people and we as people who, it's not just for trans people, it's for people whose parents have a hard time accepting their reality being different, It's important for us to give into that too, to given to that being a journey. The same way our process of acknowledging who we are, recognizing, oh wow, okay, we are different, and then embracing now the difference and choosing to live in that difference, choosing to love us who we are. The people in our lives have to go through that journey to themselves too, you know, and it's not an excuse for them to dismiss us. It's more of an opportunity for us to engage our relationship in a different way.
I think one of the other things to answer Kennedy's question, parents, as Ms. Janae is saying, they themselves have to deal with having a child who, for want of a better word, is different. Reach out to us. That's why we have PrideTT now. That's why you have Trans-Coalition. That's why we have all of these organizations that are coming up. Or reach out to us as individuals if you see us, or if you hear of us, ask. We are on social media. There is a website, so you can say as a parent, I have difficulties dealing with or accepting the fact that my child is not who I expected them to be. It helps you to be a better parent. Let us relate our experiences to you. Maybe we might be able to point you in the direction.
Resources. There are resources. You know, that's the thing. You're not the first parent to deal with this.
Yes.
You're not the first parent to have to navigate this and to, you know, you might think that your situation is so unique because of your circumstances and why this is, you know, but there are many other parents that would have had to navigate this.
Yeah, of course.
So, all right, we have another
Shahan, follow-up question. How do you tell your parent that you prefer to be addressed by a specific name rather than your given name? How do you navigate that conversation?
Brand
That's really but you know what? For me, how I dealt with it, I still have a little kind of challenge because I think those were the days when they coming out for me and my father never really accepted. And I would say to you, I studied my mother, me studying you, and I focused on who was supporting me. Because it was easier that way. And he's not going to, he not know. We had a lot of challenges, you know, about building our relationship. And then I said to him, I couldn't take you on no more. And I never really talked. I talked to my mother.
Right.
And then he passed away 3 years ago. And he always told my brother after the time, 2 weeks ago, why your brother no, he said, why that child doesn't talk to me, that child doesn't talk to me. But it's not I didn't want to talk, I just didn't know how to, but my easier was to talk to my mother. You talk to your husband, I your husband. I talk to the easier person. You choose when it's easier. Parent is, and I just I come and I say good evening or good morning or bye, whatever. If I see, I choose not to say because I didn't want to have that conversation. And I didn't want to make it feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So that was how I dealt with my thing.
I think it's also maybe important to know your space. Don't put yourself in unnecessary risk. If you know that your parents, for example, belong to that mental persuasion where they're not going to react in a friendly manner, or they may not be supportive of you, know yourself, know your securities. Many of us have had to hold secrets until we become adults, and it's a difficult decision that you have to make. But the good thing is now there are support systems. So even if you have to live a silent life to your family or to your relatives or to your parents, you can still reach out to us privately and you'll get that support. And on the 4th of July, for example, 14th of July, 14th, yes, there is a stronger families, is it? That's what's called stronger families. Support.
Yeah, so PrideTT will be hosting, it's like a parent-child chat, you know, for stronger families. So that's coming up on Tuesday, the 14th. At what time?
All events at 8:20.
8:20 p.m. Right? So on Tuesday, 14th. And that might be, you know, even just inviting, even just telling your parents, you know, let's log into this thing. I hear they're having some kind of conversation online. You might tell them, I don't really know what it's about. but maybe we could tune it together. And you know that might be a great way to just open up the conversation. And that's one other thing, you know, I just want to throw in there with the question about how to tell your parents. I think sometimes we expect and we hope for bam, you know, we come and we tell them, hey, so it was the case, and we want to know that the information is out, and so things have to change from now, you know. And that might be, you know, false expectation. Because the truth is, things take time, you know. So even the way in which you want to have it's a process. The way in which you want to have that conversation may not want to be, once again, judging from the situation. You sit down and come out to your parents directly. You know, you may want to have a series of conversations that begins with, hey, you know, I heard this film, you know, or I saw this show, or I heard this thing in the news. What do you think about that? You know, and then you begin to let them say some of their responses, and then you might throw in some of yours, and it's really about conversation dialogue, you know. One of the other activities being hosted by the Trans-Coalition is on the Thursday, the 9th of July. We'll be having a live chat for trans career development, right? So that's something else we want you to tune into. And we promised ourselves that, you know, today was going to be very efficient. We weren't really going to try to drag out things beyond what they should be. So we just want to know if there may be anybody else that wants to say anything. It doesn't appear we don't have any hands, we don't have anybody in the chat.
Any more questions that anybody wants to ask? Any other?
There's a live chat on the 23rd of July. So, yeah.
But that's with this action.
Yeah. So Trans-Coalition is also going to be talking about that, because that's another fitness issue. It's something that we, even within the LGBTQIA community, we try not to talk about sex work, but it's real, it's happening. Sex workers, most importantly, are human beings. Yeah. They're not machines, they're not criminals. Although in some countries they criminalize sex work, remember, you criminalize an activity, not an right? Yes. So that these are human beings, even though what they're doing might not be legitimate. This chat is going to help us in Trinidad and Tobago and anywhere else, anyone who's viewing us, to start that conversation. So we start talking about that, so you understand why women like Sasha sometimes needed to find another source of income, livelihood, right? You know, and it's because of that same thing Randy wanted to talk about before. Skills development. When you don't have skills and no one wants to hire you, turn you away for being who you are. Yeah. You have to pay bills, you have to eat food, you have to survive. Yeah. And there's always someone there who's willing to pay. And that's what it comes down to. It's not that it's a choice to get up one morning and say, I really love sex so much that I just want to go there and make money. And it's also one of the yes. But it's also one of the oldest professions. One of the oldest professions. So before we close off, I just want to ask Brandy if there's any last words you want to say about Sasha, or you know, or about the fund, just as we close.
I think what I would want to say is, I knew Sasha very well, and I respect her dispositions and all the things that she wanted to achieve and how we can move forward. But I'm glad we're having this Sasha Fund now, so that we can remember some of the things that Sasha wanted to do, and now we can do it for other persons from the community. And that's what I respect, and that's how I want to end. And my last words would be for this evening is, let us just support each other, regardless of gender, sex, and across what spectrum. We still need each other, and we have to support each other, and that is important.
Alrighty, well, the last 2 years, you know, as we close, we just want to say for the last 2 years, we held a fair and parade at the Nelson Mandela Park, where we lost Sasha. That's one of the main reasons why we had it there, you know, to kind of have, you know, an envision of this horrific event, you know, to choose to inhabit the very same space in which one of our precious lives was taken, to inhabit that space bubbling over of queer lives and representation and livelihood. And this year, unfortunately, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we're not able to have a gathering in the park, but we are having a motorcade, right? So just keep a lookout for that. As we said, we launched PrideTT launches calendar events on Friday. We all went out to the Red House to, be visible and just to get things on.
To start our happy month of Pride.
Yes, of engagement. And so just keep in touch with us. We have an time-limited events tomorrow at 8:20 p.m. There is a chat called Know Your Legal Rights. It would include Jason Jones, people from the Equal Opportunity Act. We will chat about the domestic violence vote. And so you can visit PrideTT.com or on Facebook to register. And so yes, we want to thank you all for joining us here this evening. I think we had such a great conversation, and also we want to ask you to take some of your conversation away from this chat. So any little thing that you might have taken with you from what we discussed today, pass it on to somebody, at the workroom, lunchtime, you're having a conversation, mention something that we spoke about, just so that our work continues to make waves, and the life of Sasha also continues to have positive impact as we move forward.
Yes.
So thank you all for joining, and we look forward to having you at future PrideTT events. We have so much coming up for the rest of the month. Love, love, love.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.